Let's all keep to ourselves and assert our personal boundaries.
A scorching suburban showdown that proves kindness has limits, and revenge. It can be pink, pungent, and unforgettable. She kept sneaking into her neighbor's backyard, sipping wine by the pool like she owned the place, until one swim left her stained, reeking, and humiliated for days. It wasn't just a pool, it was Monica Daniels' sanctuary, and she had worked too damn hard to watch someone treat it like a public splash pad. At 48, Monica had built her life brick by brick, late nights. It started off as small, curious things. A towel she didn't recognize, a wine glass left by the lounger. At first, Monica blamed the wind. Maybe one of the landscapers had set it down and forgotten, but the truth crept in quickly. Someone was using her pool. The first time she saw it, she nearly dropped her coffee. It was early morning. She was in a robe, scrolling through emails at the kitchen island, when a glance out the window froze her. There, on her lounge chair, was a woman, legs stretched, sunglasses on, flipping lazily through a magazine like she'd checked into a luxury resort. Monica burst through the back door. "Excuse me?" she snapped. "What the hell are you doing?" The woman didn't even flinch. She turned her head with the casual grace of someone completely unbothered, lifted her sunglasses, and smirked. The audacity of it made Monica dizzy. She'd seen the woman before, across the street at a distance, waving stiffly, smiling emptily, but they'd never spoken. And yet here she was, sprawled out on her property, sipping her wine. "I do mind," Monica snapped. "This is my house, my pool. You need to leave." The woman sighed, not with guilt, but with inconvenience. All right, she said, picking up her things like a teen scolded for overstaying curfew. "No need to be hostile." She strolled back toward the neighboring house without apology. That's when Monica learned her name, Allison Callahan. But a name meant nothing, because 2 days later, she was back. Monica came home from errands and she didn't knock. She rang, sharp and relentless. Allison answered with a smile, like they were old friends. "Oh, hi, what's up?" "You know exactly what's up," Monica fired back. "I don't know what kind of entitlement makes you think my backyard is yours, but it stops now." Allison chuckled. "Oh, come on, it's just a pool, I'm not hurting anything." Monica exhaled slowly, restraining herself. "You don't seem to understand boundaries," she said. "So let me make it crystal clear. Stay out of my yard." A flicker of something, irritation, amusement, crossed Allison's face, but she raised her hands in mock surrender. "Fine, message received." But Monica saw the lie in her eyes. It was a performance. Sure enough, the next time she came home from work, the same scene awaited her. Damp cushions, an empty glass, a ghost of laughter. This was a challenge, and Monica Daniels didn't lose. She had faced worse than this. Bosses who took credit for her work, colleagues who smiled while sinking knives into her back, people who judged her before they knew her name. But this was different. This wasn't professional, this was personal. So she tried the polite route one last time. She installed a private property, no trespassing sign right next to the pool gate, as if the 6-foot hedges and locked gate weren't enough. It didn't work. The next day, the sign was face down in the grass, deliberate, mocking. Maybe Allison hadn't seen it, or maybe she had knocked it over herself. So Monica, a few days later, after a long workday and a commute under the unforgiving Scottsdale sun, Monica pulled into her driveway. The air still radiated heat from the pavement. She could already taste the crisp Sauvignon Blanc waiting in the fridge, feel the tile under her bare feet, the quiet hum of her sanctuary. But then, through the slats of the backyard fence, a flash of movement. Monica's grip tightened on her car keys. No way. She stormed around the side of the house and flung open the gate. And there she was, Allison, floating in. "Are you out of your damn mind?" Allison peeled open one eye lazily, then sighed. "Oh, hey," she said, unbothered. "Didn't hear you come in." "Of course you didn't," Monica snapped, "because you're not supposed to be here." Allison pushed herself up, water dripping from her hair, her posture relaxed, like she had all the time in the world. "Relax, Monica," she said, the phrase sliding from her lips like oil. "It's just a pool." That phrase again. just a pool. Monica took a long, slow breath. She was this close to losing it, but she wouldn't give Allison the satisfaction. "This is the last time I'm going to say this," she said, voice low and cold. "Stay out of my yard. Stay out of my—" Like this was some dumb argument between children. "You wouldn't call the cops on me," she said, smirking. "That'd be a little extreme, don't you think?" Monica's patience cracked. "Try me." She pointed at the gate, arms steady, eyes locked. Allison hesitated, just for a beat. Then, slowly, she stood, grabbing her towel, dripping water across the patio tiles. But instead of walking away, she stepped toward Monica. Too close. Too smug. "You know," she said, her voice syrupy, fake sweet. "You should really learn to share. Not everyone's as lucky as you." Monica's fingers curled into fists. "Get out." For a moment. Then she went inside, opened her phone, and ordered security cameras. Because this wasn't over. And Allison Callahan had no idea what was coming next. The cameras arrived 2 days later. Monica didn't wait. By that evening, they were mounted and activated, one facing the pool, one pointed at the gate, and another watching the back patio, all synced to her phone. Motion alerts, live feed, audio recording. If Allison even breathed near her yard again, Monica would have proof. But the real test came that weekend, Saturday afternoon. Monica had a plan, a spa day, a steak dinner, a few hours of peace. She locked the gate, double-checked the cameras, tested the motion alerts. "Let's see what you do when you think I'm not watching," she thought. And 2 hours later, one of them triggered. Allison was bold enough to try again, and that was her mistake. That evening, Monica returned home. She kicked off her sandals, poured herself a glass of wine, her wine, and pulled up the security footage on her phone. And there it was, clear as crystal. Allison Callahan, waltzing into Monica's backyard just past noon, towel draped over her shoulder like it was her birthright. She didn't just sneak in, she hosted herself, lounging in the pool like she'd reserved it with a spa pass, sipping wine, flipping through a magazine, legs dangling lazily in the water for almost 2 full hours. But it was the ending that just grabbed her keys, stormed out the door, and marched next door. The porch light flickered as she pounded on the door like thunder. A pause, then the lock clicked. There stood Allison Callahan, in a silk robe, damp hair wrapped in a towel, like she'd just wrapped up a luxury facial instead of trespassing. She had the nerve to smile. "Oh, hey," she said, amused. "What's up?" Monica didn't waste breath. "You think this is funny?" she snapped, shoving her phone in Allison's face. The footage played again. The smirk, the glass, the lounging like royalty. "You broke into my yard, again." Allison looked at the screen, shrugged. "Oh, relax, Then you smirked at my camera like it was a joke." Allison grinned. "I was just having a little fun." Monica laughed. But it was a hollow, humorless sound, the sound of done. "All right, Allison. You want to play games? Let's play." And with that, she turned and walked away, before she did something that would land her in jail. But as she reached her front door, she made herself a quiet promise. This would be the last time, because next time, there would be consequences, and Allison wouldn't be laughing. Monica didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the footage in her head, the smirk, the wine glass, the silk robe, the way Allison treated her private backyard like a community pool. Enough was enough. By sunrise, Monica had a strong, food-safe dye, completely invisible in water, but once it touched skin, it clung, deep pink, lasted for days. A non-toxic, prank liquid, odorless at first, but once activated by body heat, it released a pungent, sulfuric stench. Not dangerous, but definitely noticeable. The store clerk raised an eyebrow. Monica smiled politely. Back home, she mixed her cocktail of karmic justice, just the right amounts, calculated to the ounce. It wouldn't damage the pool or filter. But once Allison took a dip, she'd leave wearing the evidence. Skin stained, hair reeking, no way to deny it, no smug excuses. This time the proof wouldn't be on camera. It would be on her, watching from her phone. Live feed, pool cam, front gate. She didn't have to wait long. By noon, the side gate rustled. There she was, Allison Callahan in full trespasser glory, designer sunglasses, towel, bottle of wine, zero shame. She walked through the yard like she owned it, flashed a glance toward the house, saw no car. Perfect. Monica leaned closer to her screen, heartbeat calm. Go ahead, she thought. Take the plunge. Allison kicked off her flip-flops, adjusted her bikini top, and slid into the water with a luxurious sigh. It took about 20 seconds, then Allison paused, looked at her hands, then her arms. She frowned. She scrambled out of the water, dripping pink, the scent now unmistakable. Monica watched as Allison flailed around the deck, slipping into her towel, grabbing her things in frantic handfuls. No wine toast this time, no smirk, no slow walk of victory, just a streak of pink shame, a cloud of rotten embarrassment, and a trespasser who had finally learned. Monica Daniels was not to be messed with. Allison crept through the side yard, towel in hand, sunglasses on, a fresh bottle of rosé swinging like a trophy. She didn't hesitate, didn't knock, didn't even glance around to see if Monica was home. She just walked in, like she owned the place, set her things down, and slid into the water, and she knew. Within minutes, it would begin. It started subtly. Allison sat up on the lounger, frowning. She sniffed the air. Her hands rubbed at her arms. Then, she saw it. A deep, inky stain, dark and unnatural, spreading across her chest and shoulders. Her blonde hair clung to her face in streaks of strange color. Then came the smell, sharp, rancid, like rotten eggs had been rolled in burnt plastic and left in a hot car. Allison screamed. She scrambled out of the pool, slipping, half falling, feet sliding across the wet deck as she clutched at her towel. But it was too late. The dye clung to her skin. The stench curled around her like fog. Back down the street, Monica took her time pulling into the driveway. She stepped up. Allison whipped around, eyes blazing. What did you do? Monica tilted her head, pure innocence. Oh, me? Nothing. You must have used some cheap sunscreen. Allison was furious, hair slicked back, arms blotched, still dripping. She shoved past Monica, not even stopping for her wine, muttering curses as she stormed through the gate. Monica stood still. She didn't follow, didn't yell, just smiled, because Allison Callahan had finally learned her lesson. Or so she thought. The fallout? That was still coming. Allison Callahan did not take embarrassment well. By the time she reached her front door, the damage was complete. The dye had settled, burrowing into every pore, her hair now a sickly grayish mauve. And the smell? Oh, the smell. A scream, deep, raw, guttural, followed by a crash. Then more shouting, frantic footsteps, furniture scraping the floor. Monica stifled a laugh. Allison had just seen herself in the mirror. The cameras caught the rest. Allison bursting out of her house moments later, phone in hand, dialing with frantic fingers. Monica couldn't hear the call, but she could imagine it. 911, yes, I'd like to report an attack. Pause. No, not physical. Something was in the water. Longer pause. No, I wasn't trespassing. What does that have to do with anything? Monica bit her lip so hard it nearly bled. A few minutes later, a patrol car rolled up. 2 officers stepped out, already looking tired. Monica, she claims you poisoned her. Monica raised a brow. Does she look poisoned? Or does she look like someone who swam in a pool she wasn't invited into? The officer turned to glance at Allison, now scrubbing at her arms with a dish towel, muttering under her breath like a villain monologuing to herself. Monica folded her arms tighter. Would you like to see the security footage? They watched, all of it, clear as day. Allison creeping into the yard, diving in, floating like royalty, smirking at the camera, getting out, stained and screaming. One officer turned to her, face unreadable. Ma'am, you do realize you were trespassing? Allison scoffed. Oh, please, it's a pool, not a bank vault. The first officer's eyebrow twitched. The color drained from Allison's face. Monica didn't say a word. She didn't have to. The officers gave her a small nod, and Allison Callahan, smeared, stinking, and suddenly very quiet, retreated into her house without another word. She left behind a trail of wet footprints, and a bottle of rosé. Monica stepped forward, picked it up, examined the label. She held it up to the camera, just once, and smiled. Game, set, match. What was left of Allison's pride, under the dye, under the smell, under the fury, was clinging on by a thread. She turned to Allison, huffed, arms crossed like a sulking teenager. But this time, she didn't argue, because this time, she had actually lost, and Monica Daniels had never felt more victorious. By the time the officers pulled away, Allison Callahan was officially defeated. No smirk, no sarcasm, just silence and stained skin. Monica stood on her porch, arms folded, watching as Allison stormed inside and slammed the door so hard it rattled the windows. But even through the glass, she heard it. The furious ranting, drawers yanked open, water running, the desperate, fruitless scrubbing. And that was the beauty of it. Monica's little trick wasn't easily erased. The dye would take multiple washes, maybe even a salon intervention, to fully strip from her skin and hair. A security alert. Not motion this time. A saved clip. Curious, she tapped it open. The grainy footage showed Allison peeking from behind her curtains, eyes darting across the street. Then, like a woman possessed, she burst out the front door clutching a trash bag, stuffed with towels, clothes, something heavy and wet. She gagged as she crammed it all into her bin. Monica laughed. She had officially broken her. And the best part? Allison Callahan never set foot in Monica's yard again. Not once. The next week was blissfully quiet. No wet footprints, no wine-stained glasses, no trespassing drama lounging in her chaise like it came with a hotel fee. Monica moved through her days at peace. Every time she passed her pool, she felt that same swell of pride, not just in the oasis she'd built, but in the line she'd finally drawn. When she spotted the truck. At first, she didn't think anything of it, until she saw who was on the porch, arms crossed, barking at the movers like a dictator on a deadline. Allison. Monica's lips parted. She blinked once. Twice. She was moving out. Monica stayed exactly where she was, watering can in hand, watching as the movers hauled boxes and furniture down the steps. Allison still pacing on her phone, still bitter. Her once blonde hair now a dull, orange-tinged mess. Monica bit back a smirk. Good. She never got the full story. Maybe Allison had already planned the move. Maybe the humiliation had been too much. But Monica didn't care, because in the end, she won. Entitlement has a way of blinding people. There's a fine line between being kind and being a doormat. Monica had tried, again and again, to set boundaries, to be reasonable, to be civil. But when someone refuses to respect you, you have every right to make sure they never forget your name. And Allison Callahan, she would remember Monica Daniels for the rest of her life. What would you have done in Monica's shoes? Gone further? Stayed polite? Set the pool on fire? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and hit that notification bell for more, because sometimes the best revenge is making sure they never come back. Ever.